after E equal to mc square by Einstein, lots of people worked on quantum physics. We don't know much about them. But what Einstein wrote then and what we are doing today is far advanced. Okay? But yes, we do remember the visionary. Unfortunately, we forget the people in between that matter the most.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today it is an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce you all to this very particular session where we are going to know more about the family owned businesses versus professionally run business. My name is Harsh and I'm going to moderate this session for all of you wherein I'm going to introduce you all about session and perhaps the person who is going to interact and address all of us. First of all, I request you all to kindly acknowledge and welcome the presence of our esteemed guest, Dr. Pratima Shure ma'am, who is here with us. I would like to request all the person, those who are watching this session on YouTube, to kindly upload in the comment section and welcome the presence of our esteemed guest. Our guest, Dr. Pratima Shure ma'am, currently holds the position at Director at Symbiosis Center for Management and Human Resource Development. She has more than 19 years of experience in the academic and corporate sector. She has worked in the area of market research, training and consulting, and business development. Dr. Pratima has trained executives in many organizations in India and abroad in the various behavioral and functional programs like service orientation, selling skills, creativity, and innovation, etc., across all levels. She first started on the journey of quality assurance in 2012 when SCMHRD took membership of AACSB. Since then, she steered the process to completion with the help of a well balanced team. So, first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thanks, Harsh. Pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is family-owned businesses versus professionally run business. Both family-owned businesses and
Yeah.
professionally run businesses contain its own advantages and disadvantages. No one can deny this fact. Ma'am, my very first question to you is: what are the some most popular myths about the family-owned businesses and about the professionally run business as well?
In my opinion, these are two things you shouldn't be comparing. So, when you say family owned business, you're talking about the ownership status. Okay. And when you are talking about professionally run businesses, then you are talking about the mode of operation. So, one is ownership, the other is operation. Two distinctly different things. Okay. When you're looking at family owned businesses, uh, then private sector the world over, okay, traditional private sector the world over, is essentially family owned businesses, including Hindustan Unilever today, or Procter and Gamble, or L'Oreal, Mahindra and Mahindra, the Tata Group. These are all family owned businesses. Okay. However, how they are run, okay, is, are they run in an unprofessional or professional manner are two different things. Now, I disagree with the fact that family owned businesses are not professional. Okay. So in my opinion, the topic itself is origins of companies. So if you look at the older companies were all family run, which is the private sector. uh, if you're looking at new age companies, okay, which is startups, okay, similar to something that you are doing, Harsh, these may not be family owned. This is a group of people who've gotten together, and therefore it is professionally run. But they are likely to encounter or face the same issues and concerns that a family owned business would also face. Okay, so there is this unnecessary negativity surrounding family owned businesses, which I'm completely against. Even a family can run the setup professionally. Like the Serum Institute is also a family owned business, but they're doing a fabulous job with the Covishield vaccine. So, in fact, helping India in vaccine diplomacy. So, are they not professionally managed? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay. So, what are some of the myths? This whole thing is a myth that family owned businesses are poorly run. No, they're not. Okay. And in fact, if you look at it, a classic example is Infosys, where now the CEO, and it's become a professionally run setup now. Okay, even though the people who founded it, their children and their wards, or whatever, are probably rising up higher and quicker, and not because they're part of that family. They're all very well qualified, uh, but also because they've probably seen the business from the beginning, right? So they've grown up seeing their parents struggle through the business, and so their learning is great. What we should be more concerned about is second generation, and research the world over suggests that second generation um, entrepreneurs tend to get into problems. So the success rate is less than 20% over there. So what is a myth? In my opinion, professionally run or not being professionally run um, has no connection to it being a family run business.
All right, ma'am. So can we conclude that both are the two different sides of a same coin?
No, family owned business versus a professionally owned business. These are two things. Professionally managed, unprofessionally badly managed. So you're talking about two coins and one side of each coin.
All right, ma'am. So can we conclude that we can see professionalism in the family-run business as well?
Yes, of course we can. Yes, of
All right,
course.
ma'am. Ma'am, I have got my second question, which is historical evidences show that family-owned businesses keep giving better financial returns than their professionally run counterparts. But in spite of the
Yeah,
financial
because
success, most family businesses keep struggling to find their feet in their long-term longevity. What are the major reasons behind this? I think you have given a very beautiful example of Infosys in your previous answer, so you can relate this answer with this as well.
yeah, yes. So I think the most important piece in family-owned businesses is there is what we call in HR terminology is unity of command. Okay. So there is one person who takes a decision, and everybody follows it. Whereas in a professionally run setup, the two different individuals, once they become really strong, and if they're unable to manage their ego, and one feels that he or she is indispensable to the business, then there is a problem. We've had issues like Snapdeal where it snapped, it just broke. In fact, they sold it off, and then it shut down. And, for every 100 startups, only 5 succeed, 95 don't. So, in family owned businesses, they give better financial returns, even in terms of equity or whatever else you're looking at, simply because there is unity of command. People don't look, different power centers never emerge. So, and everybody is pulling generally in the same direction, whether they like it or not. That's one thing. But in the long term, like I was mentioning before, if they have seen, so Narayan Murthy set up the whole thing. His son saw his father setting it up, so learned, that's what he kept hearing over dinner table conversations or otherwise every day. So he learned. The key will be, what will his children, will they pick up? Because Mr. Murthy's son may not have struggled, but he saw the struggle. Whereas his grandson has not even seen the struggle, has seen a huge organization. So they may or may not appreciate it. But all these things can be taken care of by appropriate kind of training. How did the Tata Group succeed? And is yet very much in existence. You have the Birla Group, you have the Mahindra and Mahindras, or the Munjals of the Hero Group. Now, these guys have, so this is second, third, is gone beyond the second generation now, which essentially means that if you run a professional setup and you take care of things, things will work out. Why they suffer? The smaller family-owned businesses, okay, they tend to flounder because by the time their second generation comes in and it has not grown to a certain scale, those children may or may not have been initiated early enough, and therefore their interest and what the organization needs may be different. And so they may choose to take up their own paths. That also may happen. So that's one of the reasons. I don't think it is mismanagement. It's just alignment of individual goals to that of the organization. If that aligns, it works well. Else, best option is to not get involved in the day-to-day running. You remain a strategic partner, but you allow the executive to take care of the day-to-day decision making. Works much better. They may be better off to understand and manage the whole business.
Indeed, ma'am. Ma'am, I have got my third question, which is that what we have seen is that we have talked much about that how the next generation sees her seen her father or her mother about the how they are giving their efforts, how they are making the things which they are now presently actually it is. But what we have seen is that there is a strange phenomena in many times noticed in family businesses. Children may not want to join the business or may turn out not to possess the genes of their business parents. Moreover, the family members may run out of expertise in the various business areas as the organization grows. Do you think the best option often is to turn to professional manager rather than handing over the keys to incompetent or inexperienced family members?
100%. I would agree totally with you. Okay, maintain a board seat, maintain a bunch of board seats if that's what you want, where strategic control is there. Like I said before, executive control, no. You may or may not understand all aspects of the business. And somebody who understands it and is from there may actually be able to bring competitive differentiation and competitive advantage and keep the profits growing. So instead of being a part of the day-to-day management, let professionals handle it, right? You should just be a part of the strategy. Don't step out. There is no need to give up. Okay. But, you can guide from afar and, take the advice of people who are much better aware, qualified, have the expertise. The beauty in growing big is you have the money to employ the best in the business to take care of it. You don't have to take care of things yourself. That is not needed.
Indeed,
I would agree. They shouldn't hand it off to inexperienced people at all.
Indeed, ma'am. Again, it was a quite insightful answer from your side. Ma'am, I have got my next question, which is, what are the things one must know if we see these things from the side of an employee? What are the things one must know and consider while choosing to work for family-owned business or professionally run business?
No, I don't think it has to do with family owned or professionally run business. If you're looking to make a career, the best option is for you to know if this is of your interest, the role you are getting is of interest, what is the future of that industry, what is the future that you will see in the next 5 years for yourself. Is there a clear-cut growth path? Is the organization going to support you? Okay, those become important things. First and foremost is whether the industry will stay. See, currently we are at a stage where too much change is happening in the industry. And a lot of organizations that we see today may cease to exist in a couple of years from now. So just ensure that the area and the sector that you're getting into is going to be around for next whatever is your career in some form or the other. One. Two is whether you have, and that's equally important as the longevity, is are you interested and are you getting a role of your choice? Okay. uh, if you have a choice. If you don't have a choice, एक ही offer है तो आपको लेना ही है वो, right? But when you're looking at and evaluating different options, at that point in time, it's a great idea to please look at what works. If you go in, will your career path progress along a certain way? Will you be able to take care of, will the organization take care of you? Will they support you in your growth? Are there instances and examples of that kind? That is what you need to know. And anyways, every individual needs to be agile. Today you may be in a company, tomorrow if that shuts, you should very quickly be able to go back to the drawing board, learn, relearn, or learn some new skill, and come back into the marketplace, because maybe something that you know is outdated, outmoded, and you may want to learn something completely new again, um, which is what you should be prepared for. That change is something everybody should work very well under. But go with companies that have a tendency of looking after their people. You need somebody that looks after you, because we spend uh, 24 hours in a day, 8 hours to sleep, 2 hours to get dressed, have lunch, dinner, whatever. Balance of the time between 9 to 12 hours, we're traveling to work, we are at work, and then we're traveling back from work. After the COVID pandemic, I'm sure we'll go back to traveling, at least a lot of us. Not most, but yes, a lot of us will go back to that. Now, if that is the case, you had better pick something you are truly interested in, and that you like to be, a place you like to be, people you like to be with. So career choices have nothing to do with family owned or professionally run. Join an organization that you feel takes care of its employees, and you will be taken care of. Of course, you have to do your work sincerely, um, but yes, that's the way it is.
I think, ma'am, it's a quite insightful answer from your side, and I'm sure the viewers, those who are watching, they are surely going to understand this, that our career choices are nothing to do with the whether you are working for family-owned businesses or a professionally run business. But the thing that you have to keep in your mind is that what are the chances of your growth? What are the chances? How it is affecting your working hour? How it is suitable for you? So that is the most important thing you need to consider, rather than considering the things whether it is a family-owned or professionally run. Ma'am, my next question to you is, change in any organization is hard to achieve, and if there are barriers that are institutional or structural, then it becomes harder to drive those change. My question to you is it easier to drive those change in family owned businesses than professionally run companies? Because what we have seen is that in professionally run companies, there are multiple investors and multiple stakeholders. So it is very hard to put any idea and then get approved by all of them.
Yeah, but so if it's a professionally managed outfit, whether it is family owned or not, um, whenever any key decision has to be taken, uh, 10, 15 of them will sit down together and discuss, deliberate. That is why India as a democracy is successful, is because every person, whether you like the government or not, can always critique whatever is being done. Uh, and if your skin is involved, if you're invested to the extent of a few 100,000, whatever, lakh, crore rupees, then you don't want that money to go waste. You won't oppose it just for the sake of your attitude. You will oppose it because you feel that your money will not get appropriately utilized, and it will not just not lead to profit for you, but for a whole lot of other people as well. You don't want something like that happening at all under any circumstance. Now, given this kind of a scenario, it's extremely crucial to therefore understand that unity of command, like I said before, is critical, whether it is professionally, 3 4 professionals running it, or so, which means everybody can contribute to the discussion. But if there is too much analysis and complete paralysis, that'll be bad. Okay. No decision, keep running at the same spot all the time, lots of activity but no action. Now that's not something you want. You therefore, if you want to drive change, whoever wants to drive the change should be able to convince that this change is worth it, and this is how, there's the kind of return that you will give. So it's about making the right kind of presentation. It's about making the right kind of how should you say, technical analysis, that if you do this, this is the advantage, if you do this is the advantage, both these actions have these disadvantages. It's much easier to drive an organization wide change if you have your facts straight, what works and what doesn't. So you should have done a think through. Only then you can manage change. Just because I think that this is what I want, no, there's money involved, people have invested money, so they need to know that what you're doing will work, and they need to be shown evidence. There's nothing wrong in people objecting. Okay, and then take a vote. You will get a good decision by that. Yeah, but you must listen to every point of view, and the more negative the point of view, instead of ignoring that kind of a point of view, it's a good idea to listen to that. Sometimes, when it's your idea, you're so gung-ho about it, you don't see all the pitfalls that may happen when you execute it, whereas a third person will first see the pitfalls. Okay. So if there are problematic people, uh, maybe in your immediate vicinity there are only one or two, but who knows out in the marketplace where your product or service is going to be sold, if those are more, then there is a problem. Yeah.
Indeed,
So
ma'am.
no. You must take all, so a democratic way of working is the best way of working.
Of course, ma'am, it's very hard to disagree with you in this answer. Ma'am, I have got my next question is, do you believe that the companies that have visionaries, irrespective whether it is a family owned or professionally run, the companies that have visionaries who can carry large section of the organization along with them often succeed in driving those change better than companies that are bureaucratic or whose organization arteries have become clogged due to inertia or slowness to adapt to the marketplace?
We work for people. Okay, it may be a big brand, but we work for our manager or the immediate 2 3 levels of people that are working with us, above us. Okay. um, and we get very inspired. So we are people, right? We're emotional beings, and if we feel that there is this one guy who understands us and understands what the business is about, and I may not be able to envision what he or she is seeing, uh, but I believe enough in the person to follow. Okay. So yes, visionaries always drive change. You need a visionary to be able to, but I've always seen, the first generation entrepreneurs tend to be visionaries. The generations that follow maybe don't need that much of a vision, so it's okay. But believe me, visionaries don't drive the world. Okay. Visionaries will drive a key initiative and take it forward, right? uh, but like after E equal to mc square by Einstein, lots of people worked on quantum physics. We don't know much about them, but what Einstein wrote then and what we are doing today is far advanced. Okay. But yes, we do remember the visionary. Unfortunately, we forget the people in between that matter the most. In my opinion, vision is not common, but consistency, dedication, and Just plain and simple reliability is what drives the world and takes an organization forward. So instead of the large changes, because brilliance tends to be a flash in the pan once in a while, right? But consistent, dogged determination and effort is what makes this world go round. So I'd believe more on people who are consistent, who are sincere, who are focused. Uh, you don't always get visionaries. And who knows, you hire a visionary, and that visionary may have a vision for himself or herself and will step out of the organization. Uh, so it's of no use to you. Yeah? So it works in all ways.
All right, ma'am. It was really a very wonderful answer from your side, and I can say there is a lot more to learn from you. But today, I don't want to take you much time. So, moving to my last question of you from this session for this session. Actually, this is not a question. I'm just seeking an advice. What will be one piece of advice would you like to give to all the young entrepreneurs, those who are starting their own new ventures or kind of thinking to start there, anything such?
Believe in yourself. Okay. Find out if your idea solves a problem for somebody. If it's solving a problem for somebody, then it is something that will gain you traction. Okay. And know if your idea is scalable. Okay. If it can be increased, right? So I think that's what is important. And anything, believe me, any kind of job, any kind of work that you may do requires consistent effort, and you should be able to take that consistent effort. फिर आप दूसरे के लिए काम करो या आप अपने खुद के लिए करो, it doesn't matter whether you're working for yourself or for somebody else. Sincerity and focus. Okay, don't try 20 different things at the same time. That won't work. Look at one area, one sector, one particular thing one particular space that you want to impact. Work on that. I'm sure you will succeed. And the earlier you start, the better. Okay. Certain sectors, of course, require lots of expertise and lots of capital. But today, startups culture, you can actually get in with very little. And the government is also promoting big time. So Startup India, Digital India, all of these are things that will help. So if you're in urban centers, in large cities, there's a lot of ecosystem help that the government has provided, that a lot of other organizations like your TIE or the entrepreneurship networks, they provide. So there's a lot of help. Get connected. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out and take people's advice. So it takes a lot to become an entrepreneur, and most people who are working in jobs may or may not want to become an entrepreneur, even if they like your idea. So but their advice would help. So help from all sides is appreciated.
Indeed, ma'am, it is an excellent advice, or rather, say a wonderful message from you, right, to all the young entrepreneurs those who are watching this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time. It was a very healthy discussion with you on the topic. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Harsh. Thanks. Bye-bye.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone.